Hello everyone, I welcome you all to Manu Law Classes Current Affair Analysis. In this particular analysis, we will discuss July 11 The Hindu editorial and the newspaper from Delhi edition. So our main topic of concern for today's discussion is mob lynching, POCSO, generative AI, reproductive right of women, wastewater, and Wagner Group. So these are the major topics which we will discuss in our discussion today. So let's begin with the very first topic that is related to mob lynching and its legislation with regard to mob lynching. So first of all, here is a news that SC seeks data on action taken against lynching. So, what is important for us is the term mob lynching and legislation related to it. First, we will understand what is mob lynching. Mob lynching is a term used to describe the acts of targeted violence by a large group of people. That is mob lynching. Now, mob lynching is basically a violation of human dignity. Okay? It is a violation of human dignity, and under Article 21, which gives us the right to life with choice and dignity, it is violated when someone is mob lynched. Apart from that, mob lynching is also a gross infringement of the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights. Such incidents violate the right to equality and also the prohibition of discrimination under Article 14 and 50. Okay. However, nowhere in the law it is written this, but it has been incorporated under the Indian Penal Code or the IPC. What are the related steps taken to combat this mob lynching if we want to discuss that? So there are various preventive measures like in July 2017, the Supreme Court of India under the Tahseen versus Union of India, Tahseen Poonawalla versus Union of India. It laid down various preventive measures and also the remedial and the punitive measures to deal with such incidents of lynching or mob violence. So just remember this judgment because it is very important. It is Tahseen S. Poonawalla versus the Union of India. Under this, Supreme Court gave some preventive measure to combat these types of incidents. And also, the Supreme Court in this case aptly referred the mob lynching as horrendous act of mobocracy. Okay, so just remember this term and this important case. Now, if we talk about if any state has any legislation to remove this incident or to combat this incident, then yes, definitely Manipur. Apart from that, West Bengal and also Rajasthan. These are the states which deals with mob lynching problem and they have legislation or they have enacted laws against the mob lynching. Okay. Apart from that, Jharkhand is also aiming to bring a law or it might have brought the law against the mob lynching. So this is an important aspect related to this particular article with regard to the mob lynching. Moving further toward our next important news that is related to POCSO Act. So here basically this whole case is about a minor or a consensual relationship with a minor girl. But here what is important for us is this particular act or the POCSO Act. That is Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, which was brought by Parliament in the year of 2012. Now, with regard to the POCSO Act, which was enacted in 2012, it is basically to provide legal protection to children from any sexual abuse, exploitation, or pornography. These are the three main aspects of this law. And it also defines various forms of sexual offences against the children and it prescribes stringent punishment for the perpetrator. It also mandates reportings of such cases and the medical examination of the children and also the counseling and compensation as well as the rehabilitation of the victim. And also it aims to prevent the privacy or we can say the identity of the minor who has been gone through this whole process. Okay. So it also ensures to maintain the privacy and the identity of the child. Now, basic objective of this particular law or this particular act is to safeguard the right and the dignity of children who are victims of sexual abuse and exploitation. And there is also establishment of a different or a special court, we can say. We have also heard the name fast track court. These are the courts which will do the speedy reducel or redressal of all these cases related to POCSO Act. And also there is an appointment of a special public prosecutor, special juvenile public unit, and a child welfare committee to ensure the speedy and child-friendly justice delivery system. So this was important for us. Apart from that, there is also a term named habeas corpus over here. So in my previous DNA analysis, I have already covered this particular topic in which I told you that Supreme Court and the High Courts have the authority to issue writs. Supreme Court has this authority under Article 32, whereas High Court has this authority under Article 226. So there are various type of writs available, and one such writ is habeas corpus. It literally means to have the body of. Okay, so if someone illegally detains someone else, so we can go into the court and file a writ or file a case, and the court will, whether it is Supreme Court or whether it is High Court, it will issue a writ of habeas corpus. Apart from that, there are also many writs available which I have already taught you in my previous lecture. So just comment it out in comment box that apart from habeas corpus, what are the other writs which are available to the people whose fundamental right has been infringed. Okay. Moving further toward our next important article from the editorial section, that is basically talking about the generative AI or GAI technologies. We have already discussed a lot of times about the chat GPT, about the deep fakes. Now, these all things are related to the generative AI or the generative artificial intelligence technology. GAI or the generative artificial intelligence is basically a rapidly growing branch of the artificial intelligence that focuses on generating new content. They generate the new content through their intelligence. It can be image, it can be audio, it can be text, it can be something else, also video. So it is based on the patterns and rules learned from the data. So here basically the machine is doing what? It is doing machine learning and also deep learning. These all are a part of generative AI. In order to ensure that generative AI works properly, the machines learn and also they deep learn to generate generative AI. Okay. So GAI is often associated with chat GPT. Apart from that, there are also a news related to deep fakes, which we saw in the wrestler's case. There was an image which was like circulated and it was basically a deep fake. So these are basically a generative AI technology. However, if we talk about GAI or generative AI, it was basically initially used to automate the repetitive process. Okay, used in the digital media correction or digital audio correction. To do these repetitive process, generative AI was introduced. But now it is going much beyond that and it is creating a content which is totally new and unpelagiarized. Okay. So here, if we talk about what are the related legislation or Indian initiative with regard to the generative AI. So first, we have an initiative or the government has launched an initiative named National Strategy for Artificial Intelligence. Okay, just remember this point. National Strategy for Artificial Intelligence. Basically, the government has published the National Strategy for Artificial Intelligence with the objective of developing an ecosystem for research and adoption of the artificial intelligence. Okay, so this was the first scheme which was initiated by the government of India to have a ecosystem for research and development of artificial intelligence. The second important mission is National Mission on Interdisciplinary cyber physical system. Okay, so this is another initiative launched by Government of India, and under this particular mission, the Technology Innovation Hubs, or the TIH, Technology Innovation Hubs, it has been established on artificial intelligence and machine learning. Okay, and it was established where? In IIT Kharagpur. Okay, so this was second important initiative regarding that. It basically aims to provide the state-of-art training and capacity building for the creation of the next generation scientists, engineers, technicians, and technocrats in the field of artificial intelligence. Okay. Now there is also one more initiative that is related to the artificial intelligence research, analytics, and knowledge assimilation platform. It is basically a cloud computing platform which is aimed at making India a pioneer amongst the emerging economy with regard to the artificial intelligence, and transform various sectors, whether it is related to education, health, and all such things. Because we have already heard about these things like e-Sanjeevani. Here we are digitalizing the medical problems, or we are having a telecommunication or a telemedicine type of thing. So India is working on that to develop the artificial intelligence, and later on we will see a lot of scheme regarding that. Now in this particular article, what the author is saying, the author is saying this was whole the background of the artificial intelligence, which I already taught you. Now what is there in the article? The author is basically saying that chat GPT and generative AI, it is evolving at a very faster rate. Now, those who have an edge, or those who know how to use these technology, they will have an edge over others, those who don't know. So, in next few years or in next decade, we will see that the job will shifted to those people who know how to use this technology, and those like those who are working in the BPOs or somewhere else, their job will be gone because of the generative AI technology, which is soon developed in a very fast rate. Okay, moving further toward our next important article, that is related to women reproductive autonomy as the new catchword. Now, here first you have to understand what is the meaning of reproductive right or reproductive autonomy. Reproductive right is the right of individual to decide whether to reproduce or not, or whether to have a child, whether to terminate a pregnancy, whether to have a family planning, learn about sex education in the public schools, and also gain access to the reproductive health services. These all things are related to the reproductive right of a person or a woman. Okay. So in this particular article, basically this article is being published because we celebrate July 11 as the World Population Day. So here the theme of this year World's Population Day is unleashing the power of gender equality, uplifting the voices of the women and girl to unlock our world's infinite possibility. So it is also apt in India case because we know that India is a patriarchal society, and here women have no right over their own body. So that's why this article is important in India case, as the author is saying. Now here, if we talk about, there are some important things which is given, like the current rate of maternal mortality is 97, down from 254 in 2004. So this data is important. Apart from that, we also know that life expectancy has been increased because of the good facility which our government or which our doctors are providing, good medical facilities and good care. Because of that, life expectancy has also increased. The maternal mortality has decreased, the child mortality has also decreased. So that is the reason why our population is growing. Now in this context, the thing reproductive autonomy is equally important, as are all these. Okay, so I already taught you what is reproductive right or reproductive autonomy. Now there are various schemes related to reproductive right of women. So what is it? Janani Shishu Suraksha Karyakram. Okay, it is an initiative which was launched on 1st June 2011. Okay, this scheme is basically aimed to benefit the pregnant women who can access government health facility for their delivery. Moreover, it also motivates those who still choose to deliver at their home to opt for the institutional delivery. And all the states and union territories have basically implemented this particular scheme. The key feature of this particular scheme is that all the pregnant women will be delivering in the public health institutions without any cost, or they won't need to pay any money. And they have an option that they can also undergo the cesarean section, and for that also they don't have to pay a penny. Apart from that, there will be free drugs which will be given to women's up to, or a free diet will also be given for 3 days, and also for 7 days under the C-section, 3 days for the normal delivery. Apart from that, the transport facility or the transport cost from hospital to home, it will also be provided by the government, and there will be also a provision for providing the, we can say, regular checkup after pregnancy up to 30 days. It will also be free of cost, and it is basically aimed to reduce the pocket expense which are incurred by the pregnant women, and but through that they will go for the institutional delivery instead of having an unsafe delivery. So this is an important scheme which has been implemented by government. So here, as we know that under the National Family Health Planning Partnership, there are various contraceptive basket which also provide for women to opt for these and have a reproductive right over their body. Okay, so this was about this particular news. Moving further toward the third important article from the editorial section, it is about Chandrayaan 3. So just first comment it out that when Chandrayaan 1 was launched and when Chandrayaan 2 was launched. Okay, comment it out in comment box that when these two were launched. If we talk about Chandrayaan 3, so ISRO has said that on July 14, it will basically launch Chandrayaan 3 to Moon onboard launch vehicle Mark 3 from Sriharikota. Just remember this launch vehicle because it is important, and it will launch our Chandrayaan 3 onto Moon. Okay, as we know, Chandrayaan 2 was basically launched in 2019, and it had an orbiter and a lander and a rover. Or lander name was Vikram, rover name was Pragyan, but unfortunately we were unable to do soft landing, and that's why our lander and rover made it successful, but our orbiter is still there, which is orbiting the moon surface. Okay, so this is an important news that when it will launch, Chandrayaan 3 will launch, and through which launch vehicle it will go. Now you have to tell me when Chandrayaan 1 was launched. Okay, moving further toward our next important article, that is regarding the wastewater. Here basically the author is going back to history and giving a story. Basically हुआ क्या था, लंदन में जिस टाइम पे कॉलरा आउटब्रेक हुआ था 1854 के टाइम पे, तो बेसिकली एक लोकेलिटी थी वहां पे कॉलरा आउटब्रेक हुआ था, वहां पे एक पास में हैंडपंप था, एंड दिस हैंडपंप वाज बेसिकली कनेक्टेड और नियर बाय देयर वाज अ सीवेज. तो यहाँ पे पानी आपका सीप कर जाता था इस हैंडपंप के पानी में, और इसी हैंडपंप का पानी पूरी लोकेलिटी पीती थी, तो उसके कारण सबको कॉलरा हो गया था. So basically this story is given here to show what is the wastewater, what it can do. It can cause cholera, and in the recent COVID time we have also seen that wastewater is a problem. So the whole article is regarding that how to deal or how to tackle the wastewater. First of all, we will understand the meaning of wastewater. What is wastewater? Wastewater is the polluted form of water which is generated from the rainwater or runoff or the human activities, and it is also called the sewage water. Now you have to tell me in the comment box that what is grey water. Okay, now for wastewater there are various regulations which has been given by the government of India, that is Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, which was also amended in 1988. So just remember the act and its year. This legislation was basically introduced for the prevention and the control of the water pollution and also for maintaining or restoring the wholesomeness of the water. Second important act with regard to the wastewater or the water pollution is that Water Pollution or Prevention and Control of Pollution Cess Act, which was introduced in 1977 and it was amended in 2003. And this particular act basically provide for a levy and collection of a cess on water which will be consumed by the person carrying on certain industrial and by the local authority. Okay, so these are two important act which is related to water. Apart from that, Environment Protection Act is also there. It was basically enacted in 1986 and it empowers central government or the union government to prescribe sewage and the effluent discharge standard, investigate and ensure compliance. Basically, it gives a wholesome authority to the central government to improve the environment, whether it is air, whether it is water. And under this, it also has the power, or the central government has the power to ensure the quality of the water. So this is an important article or the legislation regarding the wastewater. Apart from that, what is important for us is the government initiative, like which government initiative till now has been launched to focus on the grey water management or the sewage management. There are basically two important schemes. The first one is Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0. It basically initially it focused on the open defecation free status, but later on it also focused on the wastewater or the grey water treatment. Okay. Apart from that, Amrut Mission or Atal Mission for rejuvenation and the urban transformation. It basically aimed for the sewage and the septic management, which has been launched by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Okay, so these are the two important schemes which has been launched by the central government to ensure the proper waste water management. Okay, so this was important with regard to this particular article. Now we will move on further toward the text and context section, and here we will discuss a very important concept, that is global south. Okay, now, basically, what is there in the global south? We know that there are developed countries and there are developing countries. Earlier, when during the time of basically industrialization, those countries in which industrialization occurred first, they became developed, and those countries where the industrialization was not penetrated or where the industrialization occurred in the later stages, they were basically developing. So here there is a concept of global north and global south. As we see, the leading countries in Africa, Asia and Latin America, they stand with the NATO. As we also know that NATO has suggested NATO plus status to India, but our external affairs minister S. Jaishankar refused it. So what is this? This is showing that basically the global south concept or the global south countries, they are basically now emerging as the decision maker or the Asian power, where there will be an equal say with the global north countries. Okay, so this is the background. Now we will see what is this term or what is this term about. First of all, if we talk about global south, so understand this point very clearly, that it is not a geographical idea or it is not a geographical name. Maximum countries of the global south comes under the northern hemisphere. For example, India is also a global south country and it comes under the northern hemisphere. So it is not a geographical connotation, it is basically a geopolitical connotation. Okay, so remember this point. Apart from that, they are basically the global south countries as portrayed by the global north. They are poorer, they have lesser level of income inequality, and they suffer lower life expectancy, and they have harsher living condition. But it is now changing. So that's why the global north or global south concept is now diminishing. Now there is one term. First, we will understand that who coined the term global south. Global south was coined in 1969 by the political activist Karl Oglebski, and here he gave the term for those who are basically underdeveloped or developing countries. Okay. Now, after the 1991 breakup of the Soviet Union, there was a basically second world term which was coined, and then later on there was a third world term which was coined. So Alfred Sobey in 1942, he basically gave this first world, second world, third world term in context with the clergy, French nobility or French historical three-state, which included nobility, clergy and bourgeoisie. So here basically the first world referred to the advanced capitalist nation like the America or the Europe countries. The second world represented the socialist nation, which was led by the Socialist Union, and the third world refers to the developing nation. So this was the term given by him, and this was basically based on the industrialization effect which was there in these countries. Now, socialist Peter Bolsey in 1964 in his book The Third World, A Vital New Force in International Affairs, he further popularized this particular term or the third world, which basically formed a non-aligned movement. We know that India, whether it is India or all those countries who follow the ideology of non-aligned movement, they neither support America nor they support Russia. They lie in between. So that's why here the third world followed the ideology of non-aligned movement. Okay, so this was given by Wolseley, and in his view, the third world was positive, and here the country were basically plagued by poverty, squalor and instability. And also there is also a term which is synonymous for the third world is the banana republics. Okay, so just remember all these terms, who coined this term and who basically popularized it. That is important from you for the understanding of the global south. Now, global south is not geographical. As I already told you, the two large countries, China and India, they belong to the northern hemisphere. It is basically a geopolitical, political and economic commonalities between the nation which denote this term of global south. Okay. So here basically imperialism were ending in the global south and they were developing, and that's why now they are developed. As we know, जैसे मैंने आपको अभी बताया कि नेटो प्लस का स्टेटस इंडिया को दिया जा रहा है, बट इंडिया लेने से रिफ्यूज कर रहा है. तो यहाँ पे क्या पता चलता है कि जो ग्लोबल साउथ की कंट्रीज हैं वो बेसिकली आपकी एशियन कंट्रीज, अब इनके पास डिसीजन मेकिंग है. पहले की तरह हमारे पास ऐसा कोई नहीं है कि हम अंडर डेवलप्ड हैं या हमारे पास इतना मॉनेटरी चीज नहीं है या हम डेवलप्ड नहीं है. अब हम जैसे जैसे डेवलप हो रहे हैं वैसे वैसे ये जो ग्लोबल नॉर्थ और ग्लोबल साउथ का लाइन है ये डिमिनिश होता जा रहा है. सो ऑल्सो in 2030 it has been projected that the 3 of the 4 largest economy will be from the global south, that is China, India, USA and Indonesia, in which China, India and Indonesia belongs to global south. So this is the new transformation which we will see in the coming years. And also countries like India and China and Brazil, these belong to global south, but they have a greater say in the politics or the geopolitics of the at the global level. Moving further toward our next important articles, that is related to the palliative care. It is very important that what is the meaning of this term palliative care. So palliative care is basically a branch of medicine which is focusing on improving the quality of life and preventing suffering among those with the life limiting illness. Basically they are those persons who are suffering from a non-communicable disease like cancer or some other illness, and because of that they are basically, in order to improve their quality of life, palliative care is required. So palliative care aims to improve the quality of life by addressing the physical, psychological, spiritual and social domain of the health of people who are suffering from life limiting diseases like heart failure, kidney failure, neurological disease or cancer. So this is what palliative care is. Just remember the term. Apart from that, what is important from this article is this particular scheme. The National Program for Prevention and Control of Cancer, Diabetes and Cardiovascular Disease and Stroke, which was earlier name of National Program for Prevention and Control of Non-Communicable Disease. It includes those chronic disease whose treatment basically contributes a lot. It takes a lot of money or it takes a lot of expense, and for the treatment of these disease there is a need of palliative care which can be a curative care, like जैसा हम कहते हैं prevention is better than cure. So यहाँ पे basically हम prevent भी करेंगे और उसके बाद हम palliative care देके इनको cure भी किया करेंगे. This scheme was launched in 2010 फॉर द राइजिंग, क्योंकि बहुत ज्यादा नॉन कम्युनिकेबल डिजीजेस बढ़ रहे थे, तो इसीलिए उसी के वेक में 2010 में इस स्कीम को लॉन्च किया गया, जिससे बेसिकली आपका प्रमोटिव, प्रिवेंटिव और क्यूरेटिव केयर दिया जाएगा उन पेशेंट को जो आपके नॉन कम्युनिकेबल डिजीजेस से सफर कर रहे हैं. So this was an important article regarding the palliative care and palliative or the non-communicable disease, those who are life limited. Moving further toward our next very important article related to the international affairs, that is about the Wagner Group. So first we will understand in this article, we just have to understand what is Wagner Group, who is the chief. It is the Prigozhin, he is the chief. Wagner Group is basically a private military company and a network of mercenaries in Russia. This group was identified, or it was basically formulated in 2014, and it has a backing of pro-Russian separatist force in the eastern Ukraine. At that time, it was a secretive group, but later on, the Wagner Group was identified as a registered company in 2022 in Russia, and they provide basically the soldiers to the Russian army, and its headquarters is located in St. Petersburg in Russia, and it has a backing of the Russia, and it has also helped Russia in capture of Bakhmut in the eastern Ukraine. Apart from that, regarding the defense news, we have a very important news coming in from the PM visit to Paris, and here he will basically do a lot of deals where he can do Rafale M fighter deal, and apart from that he will also conclude a deal on Scorpion class submarines for the Navy, and also the co-development of a fighter jet engine of the agenda. So the Defense Acquisition Council is expected to hold a crucial meeting for all these deals, and the 26th Rafale M fighter of the Navy aircraft carrier, it will be purchased by the Indian government, and also there is a proposal to buy the Scorpion submarine, who is also important for our defense system. Okay. Rafale M proposal has been cleared by the Defense Procurement Board for the Navy carrier jet race, and the DPB decision is basically final, and here they will do the deal. So this is all for today. I hope you liked this session. If you like this session, then definitely do like and subscribe to our channel and spread it to your friends so that everyone can have the benefit of this free initiative. Thank you everyone. Thank you for attending this lecture.